I am Salisu this. In this video, I'm going to talk about the pathogenesis of COVID-19, which is a step-by-step by which coronavirus caused the COVID-19 infection. What you guys have to know is that this video is for education and information purpose only. So let's get started. Some person get in contact with the virus, maybe after an infected person sneeze, cough, and release some of the respiratory droplets, or the virus get in the surface, and you come get in contact with it and potentially touch one of your mucous membrane, which is the nose, eyes, or your mouth, and potentially get inoculated with the virus. So the virus do is that it follows the respiratory chain. It enters into the respiratory organs, to the lung, and potentially into the alveoli. I tell you in my last video that the virus is only pathogenic, it's only affecting the alveoli. So this is the alveoli, and this is where the virus is targeting. So for proper understanding of what happened, I will take this as my alveoli. So this is the alveoli. So within this alveoli, the virus is affecting the type 2 pneumocyte. That one you remember. I told that. For proper understanding of how the virus binds this type 2 pneumocyte and also how it performs its application, I will take this as my type 2 pneumocyte. So this is my type 2 pneumocyte. So this is now the virus and the type 2 pneumocytes. So if you can remember, when describing the structure of the virus, I tell you the virus have some peripheral proteins, which are called spike proteins. And coronavirus specifically use a type of spike protein and bind to each host cell, which are called as spike. So this S spike, it is the protein that the virus uses and bind to each host cell. And this S spike have a receptor in the surface of this type 2 cell, which is called angiotensin converting enzyme type 2, which is shortened as AC2 receptor. So this is the receptor for the virus, which is called angiotensin converting enzyme type 2. So when the virus binds this angiotensin converting enzyme type 2, it will be engulfed and taken into the type 2 cell. So this is type 2 cell. The virus have get into the type 2 cell. So this is my virus. And this is its RNA molecule. So within this inside this cell, the virus will release its RNA molecule. It's positive sense single-stranded RNA molecule. And what happened next? Look at this guy here. It's an enzyme. It is called RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. That's right. RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. And what does he do? He copies this positive sense single-stranded RNA molecule and make many copies of this RNA molecule. Look at what I mean. What he do? He make many copies of this positive sense single-stranded RNA molecule. That's his work. So the next thing is that the virus will then use the cell ribosome, the cell machinery, and convert this positive sense single-stranded RNA molecule into polyproteins, large proteins. So look at that. A process we call translation in biochemistry. So it will convert this positive sense single-stranded RNA molecule to large proteins. So this is a large protein. Another large protein. Another large protein. A process we call translation. So what happened next is that this virus, these polyproteins formed, will be broken down by some specific enzyme called proteases. So proteases, these proteases will break down these polyproteins formed into all the individual virus components, which comprise the nucleocapsid, the spike proteins, the HE proteins, the enzymes, and all the components of the virus. So what happened next? This component, I have the component of the virus, all the component of the virus, and I have RNA, all the virus genome. That is the RNA molecule of the virus. What happened when I join them? I will have a new virus. And this new virus can go and affect other cells and can also potentially go and infect other people. So this is the virus replication. During this replication, it helps the virus to make copies of itself, to make more virus. So by doing this process, in this type 2 pneumocyte, we are damaging this alveoli. And this alveoli will start to release some inflammatory mediators that will direct the alveoli macrophages. So this is the alveoli macrophages. So inflammatory responses will direct these alveolar macrophages by tissue damage. And these alveolar macrophages will start to release some specific cytokines. Some of these cytokines that will release include 1. Interleukin 1. That's 2. Interleukin 6. And 2 more. Necrotic factor alpha. And these cytokines released by these alveolar macrophages can cause thousands, billions of problems. What does they do? They can move into the bloodstream and cause dilation of the capillaries. By causing dilation, they are increasing the membrane, the capillary permeability. And by increasing this capillary permeability, these capillaries here will start to become leaky. By becoming leaky, they will be allowing fluids to potentially move out of this alveoli. Look at what I mean here. This is the capillaries. They will become leaky and potentially allowing fluid to go into this alveoli, into the surface of this alveoli. And by going into the surface of this alveoli, the alveoli will start to become compressed. Look at what I mean here. The alveoli will start to become compressed as a result of what? The fluid has accumulated in its surface. So here are the fluids that accumulate in the surface. And by being compressed, some of the fluid will start to get into the alveoli. Look at what I mean. Some of the fluid will start to go into the alveoli. So the fluid will start to go into the alveoli. And this will result in a condition called alveoli edema. It relates to alveoli edema. And this alveoli edema is a condition that is characterized by the accumulation of fluid into the surface of the alveoli and also inside the alveoli. And this will lead to what? Drawing out of surfactant. If you can remember, the type 2 pneumocyte release surfactant, and these type 2 pneumocytes are damaged, so there will not be surfactant. So it leads to what? Drawing out of surfactant. So by causing this drawing out of surfactant, what does surfactant do? Surfactant reduces surface tension. And when they are not there, then the surface tension will be increased. And this will result in increase. I'll use this for increase. Look at it here. Increase, an arrow of decrease, an arrow. Increase surface tension. And by causing increased surface tension, you are also increasing the colliding pressure in the alveoli. So this will lead to what? Increase colliding this will lead to increased colliding pressure. And by causing this increased colliding pressure, it will lead to the collapse of the alveoli. So it will potentially lead to what? Alveoli collapse. This is alveoli collapse. will lead to alveoli collapse. And this alveoli collapse can lead to increased work of breathing. At this point, the patient will try to inhale large amount of air. Why? To reopen the alveoli and also to remove the fluids that accumulate into the surface of this alveoli, which is technically very, very difficult. So this will lead to what? Increase work of breathing. And this increased work of breathing will lead to what? Decreased gas exchange. Why? Because there will not be proper gas exchange, because the alveoli is collapsed. So it leads to what? Decrease gas exchange. And this decreased gas exchange can lead to what? Can lead to hypoxemia. So this can lead to hypoxemia. And then the next thing, the hypoxemia is very serious problem, especially when it becomes refractory. So this hypoxemia can lead to ARDS, that is acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is a very serious problem. This can lead to acute respiratory distress syndrome. This can even progress and leave the lung and go cause a septic shock, and then from septic shock to multi-system failure. So that is one thing for that. So another thing is that the body does not give up on the virus. It tries to kill the virus. And what does it do? At these cytokines, the interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and 2 monoclonal factor alpha are released. It is accompanied by release of tons of neutrophils. These are my neutrophils. In an attempt to fight the virus. And this neutrophil will follow the bloodstream and end up in the alveoli. This is my neutrophils. And within the alveoli, what does they do? They release reactive oxygen species and some proteases. So they release reactive oxygen species and proteases in an attempt to what? To fight this virus. They might potentially kill some of the virus, but at the end, they will end up damaging this type 1 and this type 2 cells of the alveoli. So look at what I do. I take this as my alveoli. So in this alveoli, these are the cytokines released. So the cytokines that are released, and then the neutrophils. So these are the neutrophils that comes to fight the virus. The individual virus components are here. So the reactive oxygen species, and the protease release. So what will happen? When this reactive oxygen species and the protease release start to damage the type 1 and the type 2 cells of the alveoli, the type 1 and type 2 cells will try to accumulate as a center. So now the cellular debris of type 1 and type 2 cell will accumulate at the center, and this will lead to accumulation of the fluids, the cellular debris of type 1 and type 2 cell, and then it will lead to a condition called consolidation. And this consolidation can ultimately lead to alveoli collapse, which can progress to increase work of breathing and up to ARDS. That's what happens when the body tries to fight this virus. So another thing is that these cytokines also that are released, when they are released in large amount, can follow the bloodstream and potentially end in what? In the central nervous system. Go to the central nervous system. And in the central nervous system, it can potentially go to the hypothalamus. And what does hypothalamus do? We know hypothalamus, the function of hypothalamus is it regulates body temperature. So when these cytokines go to the hypothalamus, they will direct the release of some specific prostaglandins. Leads to release of prostaglandins. and this. That will direct the thermostat to increase the temperature, and this will lead to what? Increasing temperature. An increase in temperature is fever. So increase in temperature can lead to fever. And that is the common symptoms of people with COVID-19 infection. So another symptom is that this consolidation, this fluids that accumulate in the alveoli, the patient will try to cough it off. Another symptom is that's another symptom. Another thing is that this increased gas exchange, increased rate of breathing will lead to increased gas exchange. Increased gas exchange is called dyspnea, shortness of breath. Dyspnea, shortness of breath. This is another symptoms of COVID-19 infection. Hypoxemia is also another symptoms. So that is potentially how the virus cause COVID-19 infection. From getting into the lungs to potentially attacking the type 2 pneumocyte, binding to type receptor, binding to AC2 receptor, getting into the cell, performing atrial fibrillation, directing the release of cytokines. The cytokines will lead to vasodilation, increase membrane permeability, allowing fluids to move out and get into the alveoli, leads to alveolar edema, from alveolar edema to removal of the surfactant, and potentially to ARDS. And ARDS can then progress and leads to septic shock, and can also lead to multi-system failure. So that is one thing. And I tell you that in the other part, these cytokines direct the release of neutrophils, and then neutrophils try to kill the virus, and potentially leads to the death of the type 1 and type 2 cell, and leads to accumulation of fluids and cellular debris of these cells, and will ultimately leads to consolidation. So that is that. So I hope this video makes sense, and if it really does, don't forget to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, as I will keep you up to date on this virus. Salus Idris, love you all, stay safe. Please drop a like, leave a comment, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye.